you have your Bible this morning, turn to Ruth, the first chapter. I'm just going to tell you, if I could, I would read you the whole book of Ruth. It's that important, I think, for you to read. So that's your homework. I want you to read the whole book of Ruth this week. And it's not long, but it's more than I can do in just a few minutes. So I'm only going to read selected verses from chapter 1, but I want to invite you, it's a beautiful story, I want to invite you to read through. It's only 4 chapters. You can handle it. But read the story, read the whole story this week. Ruth chapter 1, beginning with verse 1. During the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. A man with his wife and 2 sons went from Bethlehem of Judah to dwell in the territory of Moab. The name of that man was Elimelech. The name of his wife was Naomi. And the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem in Judah. They entered the territory of Moab and settled there. But Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died. Then only she was left, along with her 2 sons. They took wives for themselves, Moabite women. The name of the first was Orpah, and the name of the second was Ruth. And they lived there for about 10 years. But both of the sons, Mahlon and Chilion, also died. Only the woman was left without her 2 children and without her husband. Then she arose along with her daughters-in-law to return from the field of Moab. Because while in the territory of Moab, she had heard that the Lord had paid attention to his people by providing food for them. She left the place where she had been, and her 2 daughters-in-law went with her. They went along the road to return to the land of Judah. Naomi said to her daughters-in-law, "Go, turn back, each of you, to the household of your mother. May the Lord deal faithfully with you, just as you have done with the dead and with me. May the Lord provide for you so that you may find security, each woman in the household of her husband." Then she kissed them, and they lifted up their voices and wept. Skip over to verse 14. Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth stayed with her. Naomi said, "Look, your sister-in-law is returning to her people and to her gods. Turn back after your sister-in-law." But Ruth replied, "Don't urge me to abandon you, to turn back from following after you. Wherever you go, I will go, and wherever you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Wherever you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do this to me, and more so, if even death separates me from you." When Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped speaking to her about it. Let us pray. Oh God, may the words of my mouth, and the meditations of all of our hearts be pleasing and acceptable to you, O God, our rock, our strength, and our Redeemer. Amen. Just a little fun fact for you. Has nothing to do with anything else, just a fun fact. Orpah is who Oprah Winfrey is named after, but her parents misspelled it. Literally, this is a true story. They got the P and the R backwards. And so she's Oprah, not Orpah. But that's her namesake, just FYI. I don't know. You'll sleep better than that. So I gotta tell you, as I read through the Ruth and Naomi story, and the powerful images that were there for me, I kept coming back to my favorite movie, Steel Magnolias. It's my favorite. Maybe I like it because they sound like me. I don't know, the accent comes through. But I love the story of these women who bond together, who come together in this friendship, but even in tragedy, even in heartache, they stay together and they help each other through that. Much like Ruth and Naomi. Steel Magnolias is a story about a mom, Malin, and her daughter, Shelby, who's getting married on that particular day as the movie starts. And she marries Jackson Lachtery. But Shelby has an issue. Shelby has type 1 diabetes and ends up in a hypoglycemic episode of sorts. While in the beauty shop, Malin jumps to her feet, takes action, life's okay. But they discover at that point she shouldn't have children. Later on, after she's married, she comes back at another holiday and announces that she's pregnant. Malin is very upset, very distraught, and says to her friends, no, it's not that she couldn't have children, it's that she shouldn't have children. That type 1 diabetes, for her extreme case, could be a death sentence for her. She couldn't adopt because she has type 1 diabetes. And Shelby's words to her mom are, I would love a few minutes of wonderful versus a life of nothing special. And so she risks her health to give birth to a son. And she gives birth to little Jackson. Jackson Lachtery Jr. And little Jackson is a wonderful little child. However, he taxed his mom's body a little too much. She ended up having to do kidney dialysis and ended up on the 4th of July, as he turned 1 year old, she received a donated kidney from her mom, Malin. 4 months later, though, her body, because of all the extreme therapies that it was going through to keep that kidney, ended up with severe infection, so severe that she was in a coma. And the doctor said that there was no hope, that she could remain in that state indefinitely. She would not be coming out of that state. Now, FYI, this is based on a true story. The gentleman who wrote this is based on the death of his sister. And so the family decided to pull the plug, so to speak, turn the life support off. And so at the funeral, at the graveside, the friends gather round and they support Malin in this time. Watch this clip and see what happens.
Mom, are you okay? I'm fine. I'm fine. I can jump all the way to Texas in bed. But my daughter, she never could. I'm so bad, I don't know what to do. I want to know why. I want to know why Shelby's life is over. I want to know how that baby will ever know how wonderful his son was. Will he ever know what she went through with me? Oh God, I want to know why. Lord, I wish I could understand. No. It's not supposed to happen this way. I'm supposed to go first. I've always been ready to go first. I don't think I can take this. I don't think I can take this. I just want to feel somebody to feel as bad as I do. I just want to get something. I want to hit hard. Here. Sit please. Go ahead. Stop. Here. Are you high, Clary? You lost your mind? Put down t-shirts. Say nice, slap me, they're going to roll. Here.
my favorite scenes. And you know why. It's the story of friendship and how they loved each other, how they supported each other, how they came together. Now let's look at the story of Ruth for a moment. It's like these women can't catch a break, much like Malin in this story. Ruth and Naomi can't seem to catch a break, particularly Naomi. She and her husband, Elimelech, left Israel to travel to Moab because they heard they could fare better there. And so they packed up their 2 sons and went into foreign territory, hostile territory. The love loss, let's just say there was no love loss between the Moabites and the Israelites. This was not a good place or a safe place for her to be. So she's there, foreign territory. Her husband dies. So now she's a widow in a foreign territory, hostile territory, right? Her 2 sons take wives, Orpah and Ruth, Moabite wives. Eventually the 2 sons die, Mahlon and Chilion. They both die. So not only is she a widow in a foreign territory, hostile territory, but now her relatives are all gone. All she has left are 2 daughters-in-law who are Moabite women. She's all alone. She's a widow. She's the poorest of the poor. The bottom level of where she's at. And she's losing all hope. Now, much like Job, she does not curse God. But she really believes that God has cursed her. And she can't see in that moment God's presence with her. She's stuck. And so she decides to go back to Bethlehem, back to her people. And she says to her daughters-in-law, hey girls, you all just need to stay in Moab. You all need to stay here. Go back to your families. Start over. Get remarried. Try again. I'm so sorry my sons died, but try again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law and said thank you. And returned to her family. Nothing wrong with that choice. Ruth, on the other hand, stubborn Ruth, right? Ruth, on the other hand, said, no. That's not the way we're going to play this game. I'm not going to abandon you. Where you go, I'm going to go. Your God will be my God. Your people will be my people. And I will serve with you. Where you die, I will die. Where you're buried, I'm going to be buried. And if anything separates us before death, let it do so to me. Right? Ruth was determined to stay with her, to be with her. Now think about what Ruth was giving up to do that. If Ruth had gone back to Moab and stayed with her people, she could have gotten remarried. She could have created a posse of offspring. And she could be sitting pretty right now. Right? Her kids could be doing all the work. But what's happened? She went with Naomi back to Bethlehem, where now Ruth is the foreigner in a foreign territory, in hostile territory, and a widow. Even though she's living in Naomi's house, she's still the bottom rung. And so what did they do? Ruth decided, okay, we're going to have to live somehow. So Ruth goes and she begins field, she begins to pick up all the little pieces that the harvesters left laying on the ground. I thought about that this week as I was driving towards Nevada, and there was actually about 4 stalks of corn that the corn picker didn't take down. And I'm like, oh, somebody should clean those. That's money still standing, right? But she would go and pick up the leftovers of the grain, the wheat, and take it back for them to eat. And Boaz paid attention. Boaz, the landowner, didn't seem to mind that she was a Moabite. He didn't seem to mind that she was a widow. And so he told his people, the harvesters that were there, you let her glean. If she gets tired, needs water, you offer her something to drink. Let her glean in peace. And if you don't mind, drop a little extra on the ground when you go through. And they did. And so Ruth was able to take full armfuls of grain and wheat back for her and Naomi's sustenance and provide for that family. She took care of Naomi. She provided for Naomi. Ruth and Naomi are on this journey. This journey of recognizing God's presence. For you see, Naomi was thinking that God was nowhere to be found. That God was not faithful. She never cursed God. She thought that God had cursed her. Where is God? You ever feel that way sometimes? I've had days where it's like, really, God? Are you sleeping up there? Because I really need you down here. For God may not be as present or feel like God is as present. But you want to know the truth? It's in those times that I realize I've had my eyes closed. I've had tunnel vision. I've not been paying attention. I've not seen where God really was. And when I open my eyes and stop and think about it for a moment, I realize I know where God's at. God is closer to me than even my own breath. How powerful is that? How awesome is that? That God is that close to me that I miss seeing it. I miss feeling it. I missed experiencing it. And how can you block that out? So what happened with Ruth and Naomi is Naomi began to praise again. She began to worship again. She began to see God again. As she got stronger, and she began to make this plan for Ruth. Ruth, I think there's something in you, Boaz. I see his eyes looking at you. They're twinkling. And I see you. So here's what I want you to do. Now the story tells us that it's a pretty risque kind of thing to do. But she was to go, get herself all dolled up, and to go and lay at his feet, uncover his feet, and then lay on them. Now, there's a lot of interpretations for what that really means. Usually, it really comes down to some kind of intimate moment. Basically, what it boils down to is Ruth is putting herself out there and saying to Boaz, here I am, as I am, warts and all, and I'm offering myself to you for my whole life. She's proposing to Boaz. Boaz, in return, she wants him to be her protector, her provider, to care for her. And so she lays it all out there. Well, long story to short, Boaz goes to the village, gets all the approvals he needs to be able to farm Naomi's land. So he and Ruth are now together. And Naomi is a part of that as well. And guess what? They have a baby boy, Obed. And Obed, actually the scripture tells us in Ruth that that Naomi had a son. Now, we know that that's not true. Obed actually belonged to Ruth. But in many ways, Obed became the joy that brought Naomi up and out of her hopelessness into hopefulness. And the story continues from there. Huge blessing for you, Ruth. Huge blessings for Naomi. Huge blessings even for Boaz. Life did begin again for Naomi and Ruth. Life did begin again for both of them. Ruth and Boaz married. They have the son. Life goes on. Even when it seems as if all of life has ended and all of hope is gone, Ruth committed herself to Naomi, and more importantly to Naomi's people and to Naomi's God. And the result was that after losing her husband and her two sons, Naomi had a son again. And guess what happened to Ruth? She became the great-grandmother of who? The greatest king in all of Israelite history. The greatest king. So, that's the story of Ruth. But it's a story of hopefulness. It's a story of when life seems to get us down, God is there. God has not left us. When things seem at their worst, life goes on. Life goes on. God has a plan for you, my friends. Whatever your life situation may be, maybe you are hopeless today, or maybe you are very hopeful today. God has a plan for you. God has a plan for you. God has not left you. God is actually more present than you will ever recognize or know. So back to Still Magnolias. In a later scene, Lynn begins to accept her daughter's decision to end her life and in return for a few years of motherhood. And Annelle is now married and pregnant. And she asked Malin if she could name her own baby after Shelby, since Shelby was the reason that she and Sammy got together in the first place. And Malin gives her blessing and assures Annelle that Shelby would love her. Watch this clip.
I don't know if this is the right time or place, but I wanted to tell you that Sam and I have decided if this baby's a girl, we'd like to name it Shelby, since she was the reason we met in the first place. If you ever heard, Shelby would love that. I'll take her cake.
Well, what are you going to name it if it happens to be a boy?
Shelby, I guess.
That's how it should be. Life goes on.
And so life goes on. At this very Easter egg hunt, Annelle goes into labor, and they get her to the hospital. Another life begins. Life goes on. Life goes on. And that, I think, is the best part of this story. Because here's what it says to me. God has a plan for his people. God has a plan for his people. And it doesn't matter if we're Israelite, or Moabite, or Northerners, or Southerners, yeehaw, or black, or brown, or blue. It does not matter. It doesn't matter if we've messed up in the past. It doesn't matter even if we try to take matters into our own hands sometimes. If we are faithful to God, then God will be faithful to us. It may not always be easy. Matter of fact, it may be really super hard. Like Naomi's journey, or the story of Shelby and Lynn. It may not always be pretty, but somehow, God will work with us. And sometimes even in spite of us. And because God is God, amazing things will happen. That's what I believe. That's what I believe. Great is God's faithfulness to us. Great is God's faithfulness. Even when we're not looking, God is faithful. God will see us through. That is God's promise, and God has never broken a promise, nor will he start today. Great is thy faithfulness. Life goes